but he's also got a bit of a soft spot for Argentinosaurus, being the largest dinosaur of all time. But he also alluded to the fact that there was stuff that he will never repeat that was said about his daughter. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BirDie Golf Club Podcast. I have missed doing this, but it was nice to have a lovely break, feeling refreshed and ready for 2026. I hope you are too. I hope you all had a nice time over the holiday season and were able to enjoy it and rest up, eat plenty of food and all that, and ready to go again. I'm so excited for this year. I really, really am, and I just want to get stuck straight into it. I want golf to come back regular again, to be able to watch, to be able to play, everything. I'm sure you're all aching for that too. So let's just get into the show, shall we? And what I thought I'd do at the start of this episode, which I'm going to plan on doing for sort of as many episodes as I possibly can, as long as the engagement is there for it, is basically just ask you guys any questions you might have. On my Instagram, I posted a story the other day, and on there, I've had some responses. So I thought I would just share them with you all. Now, here we go. So here are the responses that I had. I posted and just said, look, first episode of the year is coming out, and if you've got any questions, send them in. I've got an episode planned where I want to talk about things anyway, but would love to hear from you. And if you're listening to this, you're new to the show, you're a regular listener, whoever you may be, make sure you're following the Instagram account, because you're going to get regular sort of behind the scenes updates there, a little bit of my golf game, unfortunately, for you, but also just plenty of things like this where you can be involved, be part of the podcast, because it is the BirDie Golf Club after all. So let's make sure that we all feel part of it. So let's go through some of these questions. I've got two of sort of a similar sort of ilk. I can't find the other one, but I've got LA Golf Channel. So that's Lee Brennan, who we've had on the podcast before. Always an amazing supporter, advocator for the podcast. And I appreciate his question here. It says, what have you got lined up for the year that you're most excited about? So what have I got lined up for this year that I'm most excited about? There are some things that I can't talk about at the moment because it's not completely confirmed. Would love to have been able to talk about it, but I can't. So you have to just wait and see on that, bated breath and all that. But as far as things that we can definitely talk about for the podcast, I'm most excited to not elevate the level of the guest, because I think every single guest that I've had is somebody that I've wanted to talk to, somebody that's had an amazing story, and that's what this podcast is about. But maybe just bringing you some more household names. Obviously, starting with something that I can't wait to bring you the exact date of. I'm just waiting for confirmation of when his schedule is free enough to be able to free up an hour or so to talk to me. But Justin Rose, I mean, you know, again, waiting on confirmation on a date on that, but Justin's agreed to come on. It's going to be a huge moment for the podcast to have Justin on. I'm very, very excited about that. I think it's going to be wonderful to maybe try and not ask him questions that he's been asked before. You know, it's Justin Rose. How many interviews does this guy do? But if we can maybe just peel back the layers a little bit and try and do something a little different. I hate saying that because at the end of the day, how different can you be when you're technically doing an interview? But it would be really lovely to get to know Justin a little bit better. So I can't wait to bring you all that. From the other side of things, when it comes from, you know, what I'm looking forward to doing outside of YouTube, and I believe the guys from Century Golf Club, follow them on Instagram as well. They're hosting some tournaments this year that I'm going to be taking part in. And they sort of alluded to the fact of this, which I think Lee is also talking about, of what am I looking forward to doing outside of this podcast? So sort of more YouTube, Instagram, that kind of thing. I've got some really exciting plans to do with that. I want to do some videos sort of on course, but not course vlogs. I've had a little bit of a discovery on that I'm just not good enough at doing the shot tracers, the hole by hole, you know, the drone footage, everything like that. I'm not there. I'm not there yet. I don't know whether I'll ever be as good as those other guys. It's such a huge gap to get to the level, when you look at the top of the game now, you've got Bryson, who's got a team of people creating his videos. Same with Brian Bros. Same with Grant Horvath. Do you know what I mean? To try and do that, I feel like would just be a poor version of it. And whilst there probably is space for more of an authentic version of that, when you're doing shot traces and stuff like that, it's just got to look good for people to be engaged. And I'm just not sure that I'm there really with that. So what I want to do is kind of a carryover from the podcast, is to do a little bit more documentary style videos on the golf course, where there's golf in it, there's shots in it, but it's more of storytelling with some golf thrown in. I've got a plan to head back to, which I'm going to film very soon actually, head back to my original golf course where I learnt the game at Tilgate Park, but to head back to the course that is now abandoned there, the 9-hole course, the par 3 course, which was an amazing facility for juniors in the game, for everyone in the game, to be able to learn to play the game. And unfortunately, it's been abandoned. So I'm going to head back there. I've got my own personal story, which I think once that's released, I'll talk about on the podcast as well from there, because maybe that will sort of be an extra thing, or something that, to be honest, I didn't realise I found difficult to talk about until like I was 20 years down the line. Basically, I didn't really tell anyone. But I hope that resonates with people, and it can be something. I've got to handle it carefully. I know I'm not particularly telling you exactly what it is, but I don't want to ruin the video. So I'm going to film that, get that done, and also going to carry on that sort of theme with some other content that I've got an idea for. I want to collab with amazing people like Lee, Century Golf Club guys, Luke Weekend Tour Pro, Alt Golfer. All these guys, I've got things in motion to try and get out there and collab with those on the course. And then, I'm also incredibly excited to carry on working with partners of the podcast, Golf Escapes. We've got some amazing things planned. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a theme when it comes to that. I can't exactly say. There's an abroad trip planned, which is going to be really exciting. There's some UK stuff planned, that's going to be great. Growing that stay and play for him and her theme, that seems to resonate with a lot of people. And also exploring some more sort of golf-centric content with them as well, which is going to be really fun. So yeah, so much planned, so much I can't talk about annoyingly, but hopefully I'll be able to bring you some details pretty soon when it comes to that. So thanks, Lee, for the question. Thanks to the Century Golf Club guys. Actually, I'll follow up on that. Century Golf Club and a few others as well. In the video that I posted, my son was playing with his dinosaurs in the background that you could hear, is sort of relatively violently playing with his dinosaurs. And they asked, what is your son's favourite dinosaur? So I have asked him, and he's split. He's really split. Like, he loves T-Rex, like most kids, but he's also got a bit of a soft spot for Argentinosaurus, being the largest dinosaur of all time. So, I've let him just sit and dwell on it. If I can bring you any updated news, I will. But thanks for your concern on that as well. I'm cold, you're cold. Winter golf is very much here. So let's dream of a better place. Or even better than dream, let's go to a better place. If you use code BirDie double points at Golf Escapes, it will get you double escape points on your next trip. And you can book a trip, be away in the sunshine, enjoying the beautiful weather, the fantastic golf and beautiful amenities of some of their incredible hotels that they have listed. Golf Escapes will handle the whole thing. They'll set the entire package up, and you can enjoy every single moment without a worry. I used Golf Escapes to book my trip to East Sussex National recently for just a brief break, and everything was handled perfectly, to my golfing for the weekend, to my wife enjoying a beautiful spa treatment whilst I was out on course. Peace of mind, just a fantastic experience, and a great team over at Golf Escapes. Head over there now, use code BirDie double points to get yourself double escape points on your next trip. Next one from Katie Plays Golf UK. Katie, again, supporter of the podcast, really appreciate sort of when she interacts with the podcast as well. And she's had a few things she's asked, but this one particularly this week. Should we ditch dress codes? This is tough for me. And I think probably Katie knows this by listening to the podcast. This is a tough one. And look, who am I to sort of say what is right and what is wrong when it comes to golf. At the end of the day, it's a sport that doesn't belong to anyone. And in that way, that's why dress codes can be a difficult thing, because you've got people imposing their will upon others based on opinion sometimes. What I think, though, when it comes to golf, is that there are so many sports where you can just kind of wear whatever you like and it's fine. But generally, you'll always wear what is the most appropriate for that sport. So you don't turn up to play football in a pair of jeans. You wouldn't go and play squash in a pair of jeans. You could if you wanted to, but you're probably not going to perform at your best. Golf clothes have been made to work on the golf course. What I actually think we should move away from is everything being skin tight and, cut off, and you know what I mean, like all these things. They're actually a little bit more uncomfortable than wearing like tailored stuff. So I think we are going to see a move away from that. I've seen some of Nike's or Nike. I think it's actually meant to be Nike, isn't it? Because it's the Greek goddess it's named after. I think we should move away from that stuff, and I think we're going to with fashion anyway over this year, and it's going to be more based on kind of 90s apparel, which, reporting back from myself, I was one that was getting into the jogger scene and tight quarter zips and all that sort of stuff when I got back into the game. And then since then, I've sort of wanted to have a little bit more personality on the golf course, and wearing tailored fit stuff and wearing stuff that isn't too tight and too restrictive, funny enough, helps your game, I think, and just feel a little bit better in it anyway. So as far as dress codes, I always think there is courses that should realise where they sit in the game. So if you're going to go and play, your Royal St George's, Singapore's, St Andrews, places like this, they should uphold the standards that please them. And that shouldn't be an issue. Like if you turn up in summer in shorts at Royal Singapore's, you either have to be wearing long socks or they will sell you the long socks in the clubhouse. And some people will look at that and go, well, that's ridiculous. Why should you have to wear long socks? Well, I'm sorry, that place deserves to do what it wants when it comes to those things. And I'm a strong believer in that. But there are also golf courses that need to recognise where they fit. I won't name any names. There's a local course to me. Really lovely course. But I know that I've had friends that have gone to the range there, just hit balls at the range, and they've been strongly told next time you're to wear a polo top when you come here. I don't see why that's necessary when you're hitting balls on a range. And I think that course probably should realise where it sits in the game. It is not a top 100 golf course. It is not. And all you're going to do is you're going to push people away that will naturally fall in line with what everyone else is kind of wearing anyway. So I think there should be a cut-off, Katie, to answer your question. I think there should be a cut-off. I don't know where that should be. I feel like top 100 courses should be able to name what they want to do, and that should be fine. I feel like everything outside of that should be a little bit more realistic with clientele and obviously bringing more people into the game. That's in the UK anyway. I know in America things are a little bit more relaxed, but in the UK that's kind of where we sit, where we've got some clubs that are thinking they can impose wills when actually they should probably just be welcoming people into the game and not worrying about it as much. I don't want to see jeans on a golf course, but that's my personal opinion. There's plenty of people that couldn't care less. So that's kind of where it sits on that. That's a good question though, Katie, and it is one that we talk about on the podcast all the time. So yeah, tough one. Anyway, moving on. Thanks for that, Katie. Moving on to, let's go to Matty Z. Matty, who is actually a friend of mine, and he has put, do you think you'll be lucky enough to shoot par around 18, with some crying laughed faces? He's alluding to the fact that I once shot par on a back nine after shooting like a 47 on the front. And that, to be honest, that moment was kind of like, okay, I'm good enough to be consistent over 9 holes. I've now just got to do that over 18. I don't know what the answer is to that. I think Matt's just doing this to hurt me greatly, really. I'm going to say, yeah, I will. I'm not sure it'll be this year. I've got a lot of things to work on, a lot of things in here to work on mainly. Yeah, I think I can do it at some point. Maybe a mini golf or a little indoor crazy golf scene or something. But yes, Matt, to answer your question, yes, I think I might at some point, but maybe not this year. Moving on to Nicholas Pettit, who is another good friend of mine, Nick. So thanks for your questions. Where do you see your handicap getting down to this year? So I'm sitting at 10 at the moment, but admittedly I haven't really input scores from over the winter, which have been relatively poor. I'd imagine I've probably creeped up towards 13 at this point, but I just haven't input them. So there's probably a lot of people in that sort of field doing ourselves in a bit, really. Probably should whack them in, but I sort of know come springtime, the courses are playing a bit better and my game is warmer, and I'd rather measure myself on that, if you know what I mean. I'm not a member anywhere, so there's no need to maintain that handicap, if you know what I mean. So I'm only hurting myself, is what I'm saying. But I honestly, I want to set a goal this year of getting down to 5. Like, it's been in my mind for a long time. And the annoying part is I know my game is good enough to be there. It's decision making. Like, my decision making sometimes is really, really poor. And that's something I've got to work on a lot this year. I've actually got a tournament, Century Golf Tour tournament, coming up in 25 days when you're listening to this. And I do want to, I'm not going to get to practice very much, I don't think, but I definitely will have the opportunity to really plan out the way I want to attack the golf course and where I want to be cautious and playing good shots, fueling myself properly, practicing some chipping, some putting, and just working on going there with a plan and not just writing it off as, it's just practice. Like, it's a tournament. I want to win that tournament. There's prizes. I want to win it. So what am I going to do that? Like I said, my game is not currently probably at a 10 handicap standard. So for me to go there and try and win a Stableford competition as a 10, it's going to be tough when I'm not playing quite as a 10. But nonetheless, I can't use that as an excuse. I've got to go there and get it done, really. I mean, that's kind of the most important thing that I can do. So, yeah, to answer your question, Nick, that's kind of where I'm sitting with it, really. Yeah, just want to get down to a 5. So there we go. I've said it. I've put it out there. Let's see if I can actually do it. I certainly know that. Thank you all for everyone for your questions. I really do appreciate it. If you've got any questions, you can go on Instagram. You can send me a DM. Or you can email birdiegolfpod@gmail.com and your questions will be read out live on air. I promise. You send them through, get it out. If you've got any cool stories as well, send them through. If you're enjoying the podcast, tell me. It's really nice to hear. And as always, if you are enjoying the pod, if you're new here, whatever it may be, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, follow. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and leave a 5-star review. It massively helps out and also helps more people find the pod. So I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So what I thought I'd do for this opening episode of the year, sorry there's no guest this week. I thought I would just get things rolling. It gives me a little bit more time to refine the episodes as we move on. Always good to get ahead. What I thought I'd do is look back on 2025, look at some of the key moments, key players of 2025, and what we've got to look forward to in 2026. I thought that'd be a nice way to start the year. Sort of ignoring the pod. I've done plenty of, we're a year in, how exciting, 50 episodes in, how exciting, sort of with a little burp halfway through. But what I thought I'd do is look at the game as a whole and what we can learn from the year and what we can look forward to from next year. So the first note I've got is Mr. Rory McIlroy. He's had a historic career Grand Slam that he's done and played just incredibly well. Excuse me, apologies. Played incredibly well all year. So first of all, we have to talk about Augusta. He became the 6th player in history to complete the Grand Slam. An unbelievable achievement. The pressure was so intense. It was the best and worst watching experience of golf in my life. Masters is number one for me personally. I think it is for many, but especially because of the time slot here in the UK, it just fits perfectly into a Sunday evening when you get that Masters final day. It was unbelievable from Rory. Like, I'll never forget him just downing that protein bar and just the look in his eyes of sheer terror as he headed from 17 to 18. and then to dump it in the bunker, to have to go to a playoff with Justin Rose, the difficulty adjusting to that, because I think he said recently that Bryson was the person he thought was going to be his biggest challenge for the whole day, and then suddenly he's got his friend, Ryder Cup colleague, Justin Rose, to compete against a great competitor as well. And to be able to reset, go again, and get that done was just spine-tingling moments from Rory. It really, honestly was. You couldn't have You couldn't have wrote it. You couldn't have wrote it any better for how Rory would complete that Grand Slam. Like, we've all been waiting for it for so long, and to see him get it done in the fashion that he did it, only Rory McIlroy could do that. And it was amazing. Some shots were incredible. You know, the shot on, was it 15? The 7-iron on 15. You know, it was just, wow. Honestly. What a player. What a career. And it's going to be exciting to see what he can do in 26. But we'll talk about that in a bit, obviously, as well. Next, we have to talk about the most consistent golfer of his generation already, and he's probably only 3 to 4 years of playing this sort of way, or close to it. Mr. Scotty Scheffler. His consistency is kind of, at this point, it's become like an era-defining dominance from Scotty. He won 6 PGA Tour titles in 2025, and two of those being majors as well. Just an incredible year. I believe that's the correct stat. I use ChatGPT sometimes for these stats, and I've heard sometimes they can get it wrong. But anyway, you can correct me on that if need be. But yeah, the 2 majors being obviously the PGA and the Open as well. And I remember watching the Open, and just the way he made it look so easy. When he got that double, and it was almost like he got bored and thought, let's make this at least interesting. I've got to somewhat come back to the field a little bit. And then I think he birdied. That's the unbelievable thing about Scotty, is he'll make a mistake, birdie the next. And the amount of times he does it is truly unbelievable. He was named PGA Tour Player of the Year for the 4th straight season, which is tying a record with Tiger Woods. 17 top 10s, 0 missed cuts. I mean, that in itself is incredible. Yeah, I mean, it really is special, and Scotty is getting close to that career Grand Slam within when did he win his first major? 2-3 years ago? He just got the US Open left. That's all he's got to do. And with it being at Shinnecock this year, consistency is going to be pretty key there. I mean, you hedge your bets against Scotty getting that done. So you can see why Scotty won Player of the Year. I know there's a bit of contention when it comes to him and Rory, but I think if you look at Scotty in the majors, he shot a combined 32 under. And I think Rory was next to that, and he was in the teens. So, I mean, yeah, it's a no-brainer really, isn't it? I mean, Scotty is Mr. Consistent, definitely was the best player of 2025, and you wouldn't write off against 2026 either. Yeah, Ryder Cup, Bethpage Black. It was touted as going to be the rowdiest Ryder Cup ever. I think it did live up to that expectations. People went over the line. I heard Rory talking on Stick to Football, and he was saying that, everyone took notice of, clearly and rightfully, the disrespect that was pushed towards the wives when they were there and everything like that. But he also alluded to the fact that there was stuff that he will never repeat that was said about his daughter. I don't think many people knew that. I think that's absolutely disgusting. Like, to aim insults at adults is one thing, because adults can defend themselves. To aim insults at a child who has nothing to do with what her dad does for a job, or the news that circulates sometimes, or controversies, or whatever it may be, to pick on a child is absolutely despicable. Rory was right to get annoyed, as any dad would in that situation. So I've heard that some people said, well, Rory should maybe, and to be honest, before that came out, I sort of thought Rory should maybe hold himself to a little bit of a higher standard than what he did on certain things where he responded and retorted. But to know that now, that's why it's key that you know all the information before you speak, because the fact that he was having to deal with things being said about Poppy, about his little girl, let that sink in, like, for for all dads listening, for all mums listening, to know that things were being said about them and her. Never, ever should that happen again at a Ryder Cup. Simple. It was a shame that became the narrative from the Ryder Cup, because in all honesty, it was a really interesting Ryder Cup to watch. I won't say it was one of the better Ryder Cups. I don't think it was. I think Europe absolutely dominated the first 2 days, which made it into a bit of a procession on the Sunday. Obviously, it didn't end up being that, but very difficult to turn up when you know you only need X amount of points to win. I think at that point, was it 2.5 points? I think was it to win the Ryder Cup. So retain 2, I think it was. I think they were on 12 after 2 days. So to get that done was tricky. And fair play to America. They came back and really played well on that Sunday. I thought the way they set up the course was a real shame. I just think it didn't play how they wanted it to and how it should have. Bethpage Black is known as being one of the hardest golf courses in the world, and it played easy. Like cutting the rough down that much. I think now America needs to really readjust when they have it back. Obviously, they don't get to pick what happens at Adair Manor. But they need to adjust, because the idea that they're bombers and Europe is short, and if they can get wedges in their hand, they're going to be better than the Europeans. I think it's gone. I think it's done. Most of European players play in America now anyway, so they know how to play American golf courses. They're long. They're going to be in the rough. If the rough's cut down, they're going to hit amazing shots. Like, it's just not the same as what it used to be 20 years ago, and they need to adjust, because that's going to continue to happen. And they've got to do something about foursomes. I mean, foursomes has been a real problem. I have a feeling, again, I heard Rory talking about out of, was it 16? What would it be? Yeah, 16 points being available over the past 2 Ryder Cups. Europe have won 13 and a half, 13 or something. I mean, there's your issue right there. What they can do about that, I don't know. Better matchups would probably be number one. Don't send Harris English and Colin Morikawa out together. Would be say. But obviously, an amazing win to get it done away from home. It's one of the hardest things to do in sport, and to get it done was great. Some emotional scenes, some cool scenes. Just a bit of a shame for Bethpage that it didn't quite live up to what it could have been, is what I'd say on that. Obviously, we can look back on the majors. We've spoken about Rory winning the Masters, Scotty winning the PGA, and Scotty winning the Open, but we can't forget, obviously, the US Open and JJ Spawn, who has had an unbelievable year, hasn't he, JJ? I mean, to go from, I think he was outside the top 100 into the top 10, to hold that 65-footer, to get it done on the last hole. I actually missed that shot. I can't remember what happened. I was somewhere and I didn't watch it, and then I saw that and thought, I wish I was watching that live. That would have been cool, because it doesn't really have the same effect when it's highlights, because you've already been told that it goes in. It's amazing for JJ Spawn. Played really well actually all year long. In most majors, from what I remember, and most big tournaments, played very, very well. I remember, was it Rory beat him in the playoff for the Players? I believe is correct. Tell me if I'm wrong on that. What did Rory win? Let's look back. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. I should get this right. Yes. Yeah. I think Rory beat him in the Players. So a great year for him. ShotScope is the tool that you don't have in your bag yet, and the one that you need. Whether you like wearing a watch on the course, whether you like using rangefinders, whether you just like having the tags on your clubs to know your distances, ShotScope gives you all of that. Before using ShotScope, I was unaware of the best parts of my game and the worst parts of my game, but using their watch and their rangefinder has enabled me to work out where I need to improve, using shots gained data to accurately see where I can improve, and I want that for you too. So if you use the code BirDie Golf Club on the ShotScope website, that will get you 15% off the entire range. So make sure to head to the checkout, put in whatever ShotScope product you want, enter code BirDie Golf Club, and you will get yourself 15% off. It helps support the podcast and can help improve your game. A great year for him. Just in general, a great year for golf. you look at it and it's fractured at the moment with Liv and the DP World Tour kind of sitting in no man's land, really, it feels like at the moment. But it's good to hear Rory commit to playing more tournaments around the world as part of DP World Tour. And hopefully that can get elevated this year. It really does deserve it because there's some amazing players. And it kind of looks like we're heading away from one tour being all there is. And if that's the case, the DP World Tour need to capitalise on their position, not just as a feeder tour, but as an experience. The places they go, the people they're able to connect with, the players they can entice onto the tour, they need to connect with the golfing audience more, and it needs to be an ever-present on people's minds. That's kind of where it has to be. So let's see what happens in 2026. But anyway, what have we got to look forward to in 2026? I'm aware I don't want to ramble, but also this is just kind of me talking out loud at the start of the year. First things first, US Open at Shinnecock is going to be amazing. Date for your diary, 21st of June, 18th to the 21st of June, 26. Shinnecock's obviously hosted multiple historic opens. It's a true American test of golf as well. It's tough, but also modern equipment can take it on, right? You're going to see guys take on shots that wouldn't have been done 20 years ago, which is going to be interesting. Who would you look at? Can't look away from Scotty. You just can't look away from Scotty. This would be his Grand Slam. It would be one of the more impressive Grand Slams of all time, I believe. And I mean, to only have 6 in history and then to get the 7th literally the following year would be something in itself. But you're going to have to be precise. You're going to have to be consistent. You're going to need power as well. And Scotty's got that. But yeah, you wouldn't want to look past someone like that. Someone who doesn't miss a lot of fairways, doesn't make a lot of mistakes with wedges in his hands. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to look past Scotty. But then you look at maybe some outside picks, obviously Rory in play and everything like that. Tommy Fleetwood would be somebody that you could look at for that. I'm going to go with a dark horse pick. And actually, I think this was a question from a listener as to who do I think is going to win the majors this year. Yeah, sorry, Century Golf guys. You actually asked me this, 4 major winners, and here we go. We're gonna do it. So another question from listener. I am going to say that if I can I have like a obvious? Actually, no, don't bother. The obvious pick is either going to be Scotty Scheffler or Rory McIlroy for every single one of these majors. They're the 2 best players in the game by quite a long way. So what we're going to do instead is just do dark horse picks. I'm going to go dark horse pick for the US Open 2026, Aaron Rai. I think that guy is incredibly consistent. He has power. He has an amazing mental fortitude for the game as well. And he's going to be my dark horse for the US Open at Shinnecock Hills. The PGA Championship. Let's get to that. PGA Championship is at Aronimink. How do you say that? Aronimink? It's there. Anyway, it is a well-known golf course, but not one obviously I'm super familiar with. Let's be honest, PGA has really struggled for identity. It's had some really good battles. It's actually had some of the better battles in the past sort of like 4 or 5 years. I think it probably needs to go either to places that you don't often see, quirky places, or why not take that international? You know, if they're looking to tap into an international market, then they should probably take the PGA Championship overseas. That would maybe give it a little bit more identity. It rewards good iron play and patience. Now, when you think of both of those things as to patience and good iron play, like we said, Scotty and your Rory is always going to be in contention. I'm actually going to go for Bryson DeChambeau for the PGA Championship. Reason being, he's talked a lot about his irons being a problem, but it does seem like he's sort of ironed out those issues a little bit. He was talking about maybe bringing a ball into play this year that was going to help with that. So it seems like he is focusing on irons quite a lot. We know he uses crank and it's super fast, super straight with that. So he's not too worried about the ball when it comes to that. It seems to be his irons where he wants to really hone that in. And it just feels like PGA, obviously being the second major on the calendar. Is that right? I think it is second, I believe. There's PGA, US Open. Yeah, feels right. That will come at the right time for him. Masters a bit too early, and Bryson's got a little bit of scar tissue at the Masters now as well. So yeah, I'm going to go with Bryson DeChambeau for the PGA Championship. US Open, Shinnecock Hills. Like I've said before, Scotty Scheffler I think will get this done, but outside pick. Going to have to be precise. Let's go Tommy Fleetwood to get his first major. Yeah, that feels right. Tommy Fleetwood to get his first major at Shinnecock. Someone who's very precise. Rinse and repeat golf swing. Yeah. Tommy got over, I mean, we didn't talk about him in 2025, but getting that win done and in the fashion that he did, being the FedEx, for the FedEx Cup, really, really impressive. Yeah, give me Tommy Fleetwood at Shinnecock Hills as a dark horse pick. Let's go with that. And then the final one, the Open at Royal Birkdale. Now, again, I'd love to have picked Tommy Fleetwood for this. Home golf course is special for him, isn't it? But as we know, Links is so punishing. It's probably the hardest one to pick a winner from. You've got to have a low ball flight generally. Birkdale gets very windy. You've got to be a great ball striker, most of all. I'd like to look at someone like Ludwig for that, but it just feels like it's a bit too soon for him. It feels like with Ludwig, like he's got this amazing ability to smile through the pain. But it does feel like when you're playing an Open, you need a bit more grit. I'm not saying he doesn't have that, and he won't have that, but it's just probably a little bit too early. A little bit too early for him. I'm going to actually pick someone that I think is going to have a really great year. Not necessarily in majors, other than maybe this one, but I think will win a few PGA Tour events. I think he'll have a good time on TGL again, like he did last year. Give me Cameron Young. I'm going to say Cameron Young is going to win the Open at Royal Birkdale. Hits it a mile, excellent ball striker, creative. Give me Cam Young. There you go. So that's my picks for the majors this year, which is going to be very exciting. What else have we got to look forward to in 2026? We're going to see what happens with Liv. I think that's going to be interesting. They're going to 72 holes. They've expanded their field, I believe, to 58 instead of 54. Everything's moving away from 54 for them. Definitely have to change the name. Will they get world ranking points? And if they do, how much is that actually going to impact things? I heard Rory talking about this. He loves talking about it. Says he does want to talk about it and then talks about it a lot. But even if they get world ranking points, because of the caliber of players and where they sit in the world rankings now, even those world ranking points will not be as good as what they need them to be, essentially, because you've got a lot of players that are sitting outside the top 100. So it would be like it would kind of be similar to like a DP World Tour event where not many of the big players are playing. That's kind of where it would sit, maybe even less than that. So they're going to struggle to accumulate enough points to push them high enough up the rankings, especially when you consider that the other guys are going to continue to accrue points through elevated events and stuff like that. But it would be a big step for recognition, which I think is what they're looking for most of all. I'd love to get to Live this year, actually. I'd like to get to the event at JCB. So I'm going to try and make that happen. That's one of my goals for 26, is to actually try and get to a few more events. I've never actually gone to watch one of the bigger events live. I've done a few little events and stuff like that, but do want to experience it. The BMW towards the end of the year will be definitely one. So yeah, that would be quite exciting. Look forward to that. Obviously, look forward to Full Swing Season 3, seeing a little bit more behind the scenes. It was obviously a huge year. You're going to have Rory winning the Masters, Scotty winning 2 majors, JJ Spawn stuff, the Ryder Cup, any controversy that happened throughout the year, not as much as the previous year, but it should be pretty interesting nonetheless. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to seeing what Full Swing has in store for us. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we're gonna sort of be for this year, really. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the first episode of the BirDie Golf Club podcast for this year. Next week, it's going to be a really interesting one. Going to film it today, going to see James Sharp at East Brighton Golf Club. He's the head professional there, PGA professional. Won the Order of Merit, I believe, for Sussex last year. Fantastic golfer. He's gonna teach me a little bit of aim point. We had a little back and forth on Instagram. Nice one. Just as to what the merits are to aim point. I'm not convinced, but I'm going to go there open-minded. But at the same time, he said, look, if I can't convince you, that's fine. Not that I'm good enough a putter to really have much of an opinion on anything, but that's going to be good. So if you're an aim point advocate or an aim point hater, make sure you tune in next week, because that's going to be a really interesting episode where we dive into it a little bit more and get his experience of it. And maybe he's got some stats which can sort of dispute my sort of claims on it, because that's what I do. I sort of make claims and then don't really have a lot to back it up, which is always good. And then we've got some really cool guests lined up after that as well. We've got Alex Wang, who is COO, I believe, of Decade Golf. So reconnecting with Scott as well, who will be on a little bit later on in the year. And we're going to dive into his history and everything like that. Then we got, towards the end of the month, we got some exciting guests as well. We have Chris Rose, who is the owner of Strike Wedge, which has kind of taken the golf sort of training aid world by storm. I've implemented it in my bag as well, and it's a great tool to have for practice. So it's freezing cold. If you're playing golf today, I don't know how, because most golf courses are shut. If you're practicing, then all respect to you, unless you're indoors, and then I'm a little bit jealous. But I will see you all next week for the BirDie Golf Club podcast. Like I've said before, if you want to stay up to date with everything BirDie Golf Club, make sure you're following on Instagram. Head over to YouTube, where you can get some extra content, some extra exciting videos that I'm going to be filming throughout the year as we look to expand on there. We'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. 1,000 subscribers on YouTube as soon as possible would be amazing for the channel and for its reach. Same with Instagram. Would love to boost the following on there. I know it's annoying for you having to go to these things and click subscribe, click follow, but honestly, it really does help out. And I'm trying as hard as I can to make sure that this podcast is the best it can be for you in 2026. So if you could do that one small thing, it would really, really help. But that's enough from me for this week. You've listened to me for long enough. I look forward to bringing you our guests for the rest of the year, and thank you so much.